I've got a problem, everybody. I was looking online to see if I could find any cheap source for Pili Nuts, and I got carried away. If you buy them wholesale, it's sometimes not so bad. So now I have 10 kilograms, that is about 22 pounds, of Pili Nuts, and I need to find something to do with them. Wait, I have an idea. Pili Nuts are delicious. It's kind of in the world of like macadamia nut, very rich, but the texture is more crispy, a little bit lighter. Really good. All right, well that was my idea. Let's see what else I can do. Pili nuts are the seed of Canarium ovatum. This is a fruit that I've had a few relatives of before, including the Chinese olive, Canary nut, and Dubai. In order to eat this, you don't just bite into it, that you'll probably break a tooth. It's very, very hard. It's like a little stone. You can very hard fruit. But what you do is you take this and you pour boiling water over the top of it, just like you're gonna brew a cup of tea. That softens the flesh until it turns almost like butter. We're gonna put this in a bowl of hot water with some saffo that we have, which is related.
Very close group of
closely related, but this is gonna be a different episode.
Yeah.
The Pili nut fruit looks a little bit like Dubai, but it's more elongated. And this kind of makes sense because inside this is a far larger seed than the Dubai or the Canary. The fruit is very rarely eaten, but it does taste good. It's similar to Dubai, but a little bit different. So Dubai, I related that to being like buttered carrots. It's very rich tasting, but also has a little root vegetable flavor in it. Pili nut is like that, but more root vegetable, less butter. And if you take the seed of that fruit and you crack it open, inside there is a kernel that is absolutely delicious. All right, let's do it.
raw Pili nut.
It's good. It's like eating a little piece of butter. I have so many Pili nuts that I managed to fill this container, which is going to go in the fridge. And after filling that up to the top, I still have this many, which is going to go in the freezer. I'm going to try to use as many of these as I possibly can before they go bad, but I don't know if that's humanly possible. Wish me luck. The Pili nuts that I have are good, but they could be made better. See, the ones I have are not roasted. They're just plain raw Pili nuts. So I've got about 4 cups of Pili nuts on this sheet pan. I'm gonna roast it at 350 degrees, no oil or anything. There's a lot of oil inside the nuts, so that is what's going to roast them. You don't need to add anything to it. So when you roast nuts in the oven, you gotta keep a close eye on it. They do burn very quickly. So with this, I'm gonna do just a few minutes at a time. So I'm gonna set the clock for 3 minutes. Okay, they're like halfway there, so I'm going to give these a little stir, put them back in for another 3 minutes, and see where we're at then. And they look done. You want it to have a little bit of a gold color coming to it, but you don't want it to be dark. Once they start getting a dark color, then you've gone too far. Okay, so I took them out. I added maybe a teaspoon of salt on top, mixed it up. And there you go. It's got a little bit of a gold color to it. It looks really good. Smells really nice and buttery. And straight out of the oven, which is still a little warm. That's really nice. They were good before, but when you roast them, magic happens. It's like a little extra like nutty flavor to it, a little roasty, and somehow this nut that is already very buttery and rich as it is, it gets even more buttery and more rich. These roasted Pili Nuts are good just on their own. Like, I could eat these by the fistful. They're absolutely delicious. However, if you want to cook with Pili Nuts, roasting them first is a great idea, and that's going to add a little bit more flavor to the next thing that I'm going to do, cookies. Bam! Okay, so I've got a Pili Nut and white chocolate chip cookie. You know, it works really well with macadamia nuts, so why not Pili Nuts? Let's see. This is indistinguishable from a white chocolate and macadamia nut cookie. And that is not a bad thing. It's maybe not quite as crunchy, but the flavors are pretty much the same. Using the Pili Nut in recipes that usually would call for macadamia nuts, I think is a good idea. A lot of those recipes highlight the macadamia nut by using other mild ingredients. And I think if you're to put like regular chocolate chips in here or dark chocolate chips in here, you wouldn't really be able to appreciate the flavor of the Pili Nut. So that's a good way to do it. Pili Nut Pesto. Now that's a great idea. That works perfectly well. Tastes like pesto. Maybe there's a few like pesto aficionados out there who are like, there's no pine nuts in this. And those people probably think you made it with almonds. So, yeah. Next, Pili Nut Butter. And how I made this is I took 2 cups of Pili Nuts, put it in a food processor, and I just blended it until it turned into this. There's a lot more oil in Pili Nuts, so it's a lot soupier than regular peanut butter would be, or almond butter, cashew butter, what have you. That is good. That is very, very oily though. I think you might want to think about what you're going to use that for, because it's not like a direct replacement for regular nut butter. It actually reminds me quite a bit of tahini, and I think maybe in a moment I will try making hummus with that. I think that's a good idea. The problem with it is that it's not sweet and it's not very salty. I added a little bit of salt when I roasted it, but not enough to match peanut butter. So to make it more like peanut butter, I added a little bit of honey and a little bit more salt. The honey and the salt definitely improves that and makes it more like a nut butter. And I guess it's probably closest to like a cashew butter, like mild kind of nut butter. Only difference though, far oilier. It is good. It's just a little bit richer than any other nut butter that I've had. But next, hummus. The Pili Nut is mild enough that I think it could be used the same way you'd use tahini. So in order to make this, I took 1 can of chickpeas, 1/2 of a cup of the Pili Nut Butter, 1 clove of garlic, the juice of 1 lemon, and a big pinch of salt. Then I seasoned it with some black pepper, some black nigella seeds, which I think go pretty well with this sort of thing, and a little bit of savory spice. So I blended it all together once again, topped it with a little bit of olive oil. Note that I did not put olive oil in the hummus. I didn't because these are so oily, but for flavor, I topped it with olive oil. I also topped it off with some black pepper, some high quality seasoning salt, and a little bit of sumac. That tastes like hummus. Sesame seeds add a little bit of nuttiness to it that the Pili Nut does not do. So because of that, it's a little bit milder, a little bit richer, but it's real good. There are a lot of recipes online for how to make hummus when you do not have tahini on hand, and they suggest using peanut butter. They're wrong. Peanut butter does not make good hummus. Peanut butter ruins hummus. Do not put peanut butter in hummus. This, however, does work. So if you happen to have no tahini but a whole bunch of Pili Nuts, like me, this is a good way to use them. Something interesting happened with my Pili Nut Butter. I used up a bunch of it, I put the rest in the fridge, and then overnight it chilled, and this happened. It turned into a solid block. It's like really firm too. I guess because there's so much oil in here, it like solidified like cocoa butter, which gives me an idea. I am adding the sugar just a tablespoon at a time. So put in a tablespoon, stir it for like a minute, add another tablespoon, and continue until you're through all of it. It is not quite tempering, that is more complicated, but hopefully this is going to make it a little bit smoother. This chocolate is starting to look pretty good. I tasted a little bit and it tastes good, but it feels like there's a little something lacking, so I'm gonna add a little bit of cardamom and a little bit of salt to it to bring out a little bit more flavor. Oh my god, it actually worked. Honestly, I didn't expect this to work. It really looks and feels like a piece of chocolate. Does it taste like chocolate, though? It tastes like really cheap chocolate. There's one issue with this, and it's totally my fault. I over-roasted my Pili Nuts, so there's a little bit of a flavor of burnt popcorn kernel mixed in there. If I were to make chocolate again, I would roast it like halfway there and then finish it off on the stove. And also, this tastes more like milk chocolate than dark chocolate, even though there is no milk in it. I would do it again a little differently, but all things considered, that's pretty impressive. So I'm gonna give this 4 stars. So a while ago I made an episode about the Canary nut. Canary nuts are in the same genus as Pili nuts, but they are a different species. Canary nuts are from the Maluku Islands in Indonesia, and over there they do a whole bunch of different things with them. One of the big things that they do is they make a curried vegetable dish. So I tried doing that, not with canary nuts, but with Pili nuts. They're very similar. So I took some of the nuts, I put some boiling water over the top of them, and I let it sit for like an hour so they can soften. Then I blended that up with some ginger, galangal, turmeric, maybe something else. I took a bunch of vegetables, and the harder vegetables, so eggplants, lotus root, carrots, pea pods also, I cut those up and I let those marinate in a solution of tamarind paste and water and salt. I let that sit there, get some of that flavor in there, and then I cut up some onion, some chili peppers, some bell peppers. I sauteed those, then I threw in the marinated vegetables. Once all the vegetables were cooked through, I added the Pili Nut paste, and I mixed that together, adding a little bit of the tamarind water at a time. And eventually I put all of the tamarind water in there, and that turned into this incredible creamy sauce. And the coolest thing about it is that those nuts in there also like thicken it. It looks more like a cheese sauce or like a bechamel sauce or something. So here we go. I've got some with a little bit of rice, and that is delicious. That is very, very good. And that is very similar to the Canary nut curries that I was having in the Bandit Island. It's maybe similar to having like a Thai curry with coconut milk in it, but it doesn't have a coconut flavor. It has more of like a milky flavor than coconut does. That is extraordinarily good. 5 stars. So in order to come up with ideas on what to do with all of these Pili Nuts, I asked you guys. I asked YouTube. Okay, so I made a community post asking for suggestions on how you would use these. And I got a lot of great suggestions, The number one suggestion that I got is to send them to you so you could take care of it. I got that suggestion a lot. And I unfortunately can't do that to everybody who asked, but what I did do is I did send a whole bunch to my Patreon supporters. So if anyone watching is interested in supporting the channel and being a part of Patreon, this is the sort of thing that happens. I hope everyone who got this in the mail enjoyed it, but also you helped me out because now I'm getting close to the bottom of this container. It's measured in liters on here. There were 12 liters in here, and I used 9. I used 9 fluid liters of Pili Nuts to get where we are right now. However, I also put these in my freezer. This is probably another, I don't know, 7 or 8 liters if Pili Nuts were liquid, another 8 liters of Pili Nuts. So out of all of the suggestions that I got, I'd say the number one suggestion was to make a tofu out of the Pili Nuts. And I was directed to another YouTube channel called Mary's Test Kitchen. On a Mary's Test Kitchen, she makes tofu out of things that are not soybeans. I looked at a few of them, and I figured that the walnut one would probably be the closest in similarity to Pili Nut, because it's also the inside of a tree nut.
Will this be the brainiest tofu yet?
So a spoiler to her video, but it didn't really work super well. It didn't get all that firm. For the Pili Nuts, I'm kind of curious about it because it is similar to walnuts. However, they have been firming up just like naturally on their own. So I'm pretty sure if I were to follow this method step by step, I would probably get a result that is as good or maybe a bit better than the walnut, just because these have been solidifying. But I've come up with a different way. I'm going to follow a different method of making Pili Nut tofu that is really, really easy, really, really simple, just a couple of steps. In order to do this, all I did is I took about 3 pounds of Pili Nuts, I put them in Ziploc baggies, sealed it up, and I sent them to Mary's Test Kitchen. So after you're done watching this video, head over to her channel, which I will link below, where you can see what she did to attempt to make a tofu out of Pili Nuts and see if it works. Honestly, at the time I'm filming this, I don't know, so I'm not sure if it worked, but to find out, click the links in the description below. Next, I'm going to try Pili Nut Milk. Now, there is actually a commercial product of Pili Nut Milk out there. There's a company making it. I'm not going to buy it because I have enough Pili Nuts as it is right now. I'm following a recipe that normally uses cashews. Because mine are frozen, I'm actually going to use a quick cook method where I took boiling water, I poured that over the nuts, I let it sit for a few hours, and then I drained it, added it to my blender, added cold water to it. I did 1 cup nuts to 3 cups water. I also added about a teaspoon of sugar and a pinch of salt. Blended it up for about 2 minutes, and here we go. Well, I strained it also. With cashew milk, you actually don't need to strain it if you do it properly. I don't know what Pili Nuts are going to be like, so to get rid of any like little sediment, I strained it just through my regular strainer. And it looks really good. It has the thickness of like half and half, a little thicker than milk, I'd say. The reason why it seems so thick is that the fat separated to the top just as I was talking. So I'm going to mix it. That is very milky tasting, actually. It's fairly neutral. It does have like a little bit of a nuttiness to it, but not as much as like other nut milks out there. I'd say it's probably closest to flavor to almond milk. It's good, but I think this might bother some people because of how oily it is. It's like making a nut milk with like macadamia nuts, which does exist, but that's not just macadamia nuts. I'm going to try putting this in coffee. I have a feeling this is going to lighten coffee very well. Out of all the milk alternatives I've had, this is probably most similar to almond milk, but it is a little bit oily. All things considered, the fact that I just whipped this together in not that long of a time and put it in my coffee and it's working to cut the bitterness and everything, I'd say it's pretty good. When I made Pili Nut Milk, the fat rose to the top, as I mentioned. Well, when I put the jug of milk in the fridge, the next day this happened a lot more. It reminded me of how you can make coconut cream by taking a can of coconut milk and putting it in the fridge overnight. It's kind of like that. So it got me thinking, maybe I should do something with this. So first of all, I took the cream out, and then when I tried the milk with the cream removed, it was far better. It didn't have as much of an oily flavor. So that takes it up another star when you do it that way. But the cream itself, it was a little bit gritty. See, I didn't use a nut milk bag. Please don't make me buy one. I just used my strainer. So there's a little bit of grit in there, and that also rose to the top. So a little gritty in there. But it got me thinking, like, let me do something with this. So I decided to make condensed milk, which you can do that with regular milk as well. I just the same sort of process where you take about 2 parts milk to 1 part sugar, and you put it on a low heat for like 45 minutes, and it's going to reduce down. That is how you make regular condensed milk with milk. I did that with the Pili Nut milk. It tasted a little bit off, but it was pretty good. It was very creamy and very sweet, like condensed milk should be. I put some in a cup of tea, and it worked okay, but it kind of separated, and there was a little grit in there. So I didn't film that, but use your imagination. So I think if you wanted to make condensed milk with Pili Nut milk, you could. You would just want to make sure it's like really, really well strained with a nut milk bag. But that doesn't help me. So what I decided to do is to go another step further and make no churn ice cream. No churn ice cream is really easy to make. You basically whip cream, and then you add condensed milk to it. You stir it up with flavoring also, and then you freeze it. So I flavored this with tonka bean extract because I happen to have some that I made, but you can use vanilla extract or whatever you want. So I took that flavoring and I stirred it into the condensed milk before I blended it all together, and then I popped it into the freezer, and this is what we got. It's not perfect, you know, it didn't come out like super smooth. It's got a little bit more ice crystals in it than if we were to use like actual cow milk, but yeah, pretty decent looking. Let's give it a try. It's not exactly ice cream, but it is good. The tonka bean extract is so good. Tastes a little bit like if you were to mix a vanilla, cherry, and almond extract together. The milkiness of this is good. It doesn't taste 100% like milk. I think if you were to give this to somebody, they might realize that it didn't have actual milk in it. I have had vegan ice cream that is better than this, and I've had vegan ice cream that is worse than this. This is maybe a little bit difficult to judge just because I am using another element. I am using that whipping cream. However, the Pili Nut condensed milk is fulfilling its role. See, the reason why no churn ice cream works is, well, if you think about how ice cream is made, like regular churn ice cream, it's being churned as it freezes. That way it doesn't form ice crystals into a solid block. Those ice crystals are spread out. So this is kind of cheating that. By taking condensed milk, which doesn't really freeze, you can take a can of condensed milk, put in the freezer, it's still gonna be kind of liquid. So by taking something that doesn't freeze all the way through and mixing it with something that is fluffy, like whipped cream, it's going to keep that fluffy texture, but also not freeze into a block. And this does do that. As far as what the Pili Nuts did, I'd say that this worked pretty well, but not quite as well as regular condensed milk would. So let's give it 2 stars. Stop. I know what you're thinking. Jared, what about lard? Don't worry, friends. I have you covered. Pili nuts are very fattening, but they also solidify, so it seems like the obvious choice. One thing that I really like that contains lard, and some say it is not the same without lard, are tamales. Now, I used to eat tamales from the street corner until I realized that they were full of lard, and then I tried them again, like more vegetarian-friendly ones made with other things like vegetable shortening and coconut oil and stuff like that, and I noticed it wasn't quite the same. The flavor of it is a bit different, but also the texture of it is different. Lard creates a firmer product than if you were to use vegetable shortening. So I'm wondering if Pili Nuts will also do that. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take 2 cups of masa and some salt, mix that up. I'm going to add 1/2 of a cup of blended up Pili Nuts. These are not toasted Pili Nuts. These are ones that I got from the freezer, and I poured boiling water over them to soften them for a bit. Then I blended those up. Then I mixed this together with my fingers until it developed like a coarse meal. Then I added a bit of vegetable stock to this, a little bit at a time, mixing it together for about 5 minutes until it developed a Play-Doh-like consistency. Then I didn't have any corn husks in my pantry. I know, it's better with it, but I just used parchment paper. So I cut little parchment paper trapezoids, put in a layer of the masa mix, then I put a filling on it, and the filling that I used was pretty simple. It was just lentils, queso fresco, salt, pepper, a little chili. I think that's it. Rolled that up, folded the end, put it in a steamer, steamed it for 1 hour, and this is what we got. Oh yeah, I put some bell pepper in there too. That's really good. I'm gonna make that again. Tamales are delicious. The filling I made, excellent. Lentils and tamales is a good idea. I'm curious about the texture, so I'm just going to eat a little piece of the dough just on its own. I would say that that is as firm as a tamale should be. If anything, maybe firmer. But one thing about it is I feel like it's maybe not as oily tasting. You know, lard, it's very oily tasting. Although Pili Nuts are oily, I don't think they're that oily. I actually made a second batch of this using coconut oil, which is a common replacement for lard in this. And we're going to see how that stacks up. No. One difference is that this is crumblier. That's why I have my hand under it right now. That's great. That's a very, very nice flavor. I think I like the flavor of the coconut oil tamales more than the Pili Nut tamales. They are richer and the flavor is maybe a little cleaner. However, the texture of the Pili Nut ones is more authentic, I feel. It's firmer. It holds together more. I think there's maybe some sort of way of getting the best of both worlds, maybe toasting the Pili Nuts instead of using the raw ones like I used, or putting more in there, or doing a combination of Pili Nuts and oil. I think that this is something that could be used to make a lard substitute, which I know there's a huge demand for. This experiment, I think, shows some promising results. If not perfect, it is delicious. And yeah, let's see what's next. Too many Pili Nuts, but one good thing is that there is no lack of things to do with Pili Nuts, and it's taken me this long to make something that is from the Philippines, where Pili Nuts are from. If you go to the Philippines, you find a lot of Pili Nut products, and what I'm going to make right now is a big one called, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, be ready, Mazapan de Pili. It is kind of like an interpretation of marzipan. There's a lot of different ways of doing this, and the one that I'm doing today, I'm following a recipe that kind of looked like it was combining all the worlds together. In order to do this, I took Pili Nuts, I let it soak in hot water until they got soft, and then I blended it up with condensed milk and 2 egg yolks. Then I took that, I put it on the stove, and I heated it up on like a medium-low heat until it started to come off on the sides. I mixed 1/2 with chocolate because my wife wants me to make something with chocolate tonight. I put them in the fridge for them to cool down. Then I took them, I rolled them up into little balls. I placed a single roasted Pili Nut in the center, like a little thumb drop, and then I put them back in the oven to firm up a little bit, 350 degrees for 10 minutes. And this is what we got. Let's try the regular one first. This kind of reminds me of having a coconut macaroon. It doesn't have the flavor of a macaroon, but it has the chewy kind of texture of a macaroon, like a creamy custard. You get a little bit of that egg yolk taste in there, a little bit of vanilla, and the creaminess of the Pili Nuts comes out. But yeah, not a ton of taste. I like this, but I think if I were to make it again, I would put something in there to add a little bit more flavor to it. This kind of makes me think of like a burfi, like an Indian sweet. And I think using flavoring for an Indian sweet in this would work pretty well. Maybe add a little bit of rose water to it, or a little bit of dried fruit or something. But speaking of giving this more flavor, let's try one that has some chocolate in it. Ooh, that's good. If you like the flavor of brownie batter, but don't want to get sick from raw eggs, that is for you. It tastes like a brownie, but it is like ooey gooey in there. The definite winner with making this is that texture. It's got a nice soft, chewy texture to it. It's definitely not a cookie. It is definitely not a brownie. It is its own thing, and it's nice. All right, what's next? Next, it is time for a big one. I'm going to attempt to make Pili Nut Cheesecake. Now, I have this idea because when I went to Indonesia some years ago, I had Canary Nut Cheesecake, and it was really, really good. Very often, people make cheesecake using cashews. The problem with just taking a recipe like that and swapping Pili Nuts in there is that Pili Nuts are more fattening. It might be too greasy. In order to find a recipe for this, I looked towards the YouTube channel Sauce Dash, and I chose his recipe because it uses chickpeas. Putting the chickpea in there, I think it's gonna add a little bit more bulk. It's gonna reduce the greasiness a little bit, but also it's like a mild enough bean where it's not going to like taste like hummus, hopefully. So first we're gonna start with the crust, and I decided to make a oatmeal and walnut crust. I think for flavor, I need something that has a little bit more to it, and that's why I'm using black walnuts. So black walnuts are like walnuts, but they are more flavorful. Yeah, like honestly, I don't like these on their own. It's got a little bit of a rum taste, and I don't really like the flavor of rum unless you're baking with it. So it's good. It is good. And it does taste like cheesecake. There's something a little off with it, and I think that is because there's just less fat in this because of the chickpea. So it tastes like a healthier cheesecake. You know, on its own, it's fine, but I think a nice topping on this would be good. So I took about a cup of cranberries, covered it until they were submerged in water, added a little bit of juniper to add a little extra piney spice to it, and maybe like a cup of sugar. And I boiled that down until it thickened up a little bit, and here we go. The compote works really well with this. That flavor is really good, and it also hides a little bit of the lack of creaminess of this. I think if you were to give this cheesecake to somebody and not mention that it was vegan, they would realize it was vegan if it didn't have the compote on it. With the compote, though, I think it might trick some people. It does taste pretty legit. If I wanted it to be more like cheesecake, like full fat cream cheesecake, I think leave the chickpeas out. But to have like a lighter cheesecake, the chickpeas do kind of like bulk it up a little bit, makes it a little bit more healthy, a little more protein in there. I think it probably helps with the structure a little bit, makes it a little thicker. So I can kind of see why they are there. But if you want it to be more creamy, yeah, use more cream. So as a light cheesecake, I say that is quite good. Well, everybody, we have reached the end. I am not out of Pili Nuts, but I am out of patience. I've been doing this for a really, really long time now. For months and months, I've been trying to get my way through this, and let's do one final weigh-in of what I have left. How many Pili Nuts have I used? We started with 22 pounds, and we are left with 5.6 pounds. Oh man, I ate a lot of Pili Nuts, didn't I? Oh my god. Yeah, so let's do the math on that. That's like about 17 pounds of Pili Nuts that I used to make this episode. I mean, honestly, as I've been making it, I have been enjoying these Pili Nuts by doing things with them that I had already done. I have made Pili Nut Milk, I think, twice now, and I've been toasting them and eating them by like 2 cups at a time, and like throwing them into trail mix and stuff like that. I think that is probably the easiest and most convenient way of using them, and that is why most people use Pili Nuts just as an out-of-hand snack. But as I've demonstrated in this video, it can be used for so much more. But it can go further, like any one of those directions, like replacing a cashew in any of the different cashew recipes out there, or pine nuts with pine nut recipes, or sesame seeds with sesame seed recipes, or cocoa butter with cocoa butter recipes. You can go down that direction and just put the Pili Nut in there to see what happens. I do realize that Pili Nuts are expensive and not easy to come by, so unless you do what I did and buy a gigantic wholesale bag of it, you might not want to do this with Pili Nuts. And that's okay too. The point of this video is not really to show you like how great the Pili Nut is. I mean, it is, but also that you can swap ingredients out to see what happens, and sometimes interesting things happen. So instead of, using Pili Nuts, take any of the recipes that I did today, or any of the experiments that I did today, and just swap it out with something else. Instead of making a cheesecake with Pili Nuts, or cashews even, try doing it with pumpkin seeds. Try doing it with sesame. See what happens. If you experiment like that, you will come across some pretty interesting results. I certainly did by doing this with the Pili Nut. And before I go, I do want to give one more shout out to Mary's Test Kitchen. If this was not enough Pili Nut content for you, and you're hungry for more, she made tofu with this, and I don't know exactly what happened. I haven't seen the episode yet. It hasn't been posted yet, but she sent me an email saying that the Pili Nuts were very interesting and not like anything else that she's used. So yeah, you definitely want to check out that video. I will link it in the description below, and I think that is all I have to say. Thank you very much, everybody. I will see you all next time. I would like to give a very big thank you to Joseph McCorkle, Smarter Every Day, and Bill T. They are mega patrons over on Patreon.com. Patreon and also YouTube memberships are how I afford to do all the things that I do on this channel. So for anyone watching who is interested in supporting the channel and getting some really cool bonuses in return, one cool bonus is that there are exclusive videos. There's over 100 exclusive videos that are only available for members. So yeah, you gotta check it out. I'll put some information down in the description below.